Kids were getting injured at the community pool. When the city ignored us, I stepped in. I still remember the sound. 1 minute, my little girl, Zoe, was doing handstands in the shallow end, pure joy. The next, a gut-wrenching scream tore through the air, and my world shattered. Blood, so much blood, was pouring down her neck into the bright blue pool water, all because a broken drain cover ripped her chin open. I didn't even think. I just jumped in, fully clothed, my heart hammering in my chest. I scooped her out, holding her tight, trying to stem the flow while the teenage lifeguard, he just stood there, frozen on his chair. Frozen. In the locker room, holding gauze to Zoe's face, waiting for the ambulance, other parents confirmed my worst fear. That drain cover? It had been loose for weeks. Weeks. At the emergency room, the doctor stitched up the gash, 7 stitches, right on her chin. When I told her how it happened, she just nodded, looking tired. She said, "This is the 3rd injury from that pool I've treated this month." My stomach dropped. A boy had needed surgery after getting his toe caught in that same drain 2 weeks earlier. Another little girl had cut her hand on exposed rebar near the diving board. The doctor looked me in the eye and said the city should have shut that pool down months ago. Months ago. My blood was still boiling on Monday morning when I called the Parks and Recreation Department. I was transferred 3 times, before I finally got to someone named Vaughn in facility maintenance. I told him everything, Zoe's injury, the loose drain, the doctor's warning. He said he'd look into it. When I pressed for a timeline, he got vague, mumbled something about budget constraints and inspection schedules. "These things take time," he said. How much time? He couldn't give me a date. Then he hit me with it. When I pointed out kids were getting hurt, he actually said, "Accidents happen at public pools, and parents need to supervise their children." My jaw dropped. Supervise my children? I was 5 feet away. This wasn't about supervision, it was about negligence. It was about failures. I swear to God, I've never been so furious. I called right back and demanded to speak to his supervisor. After 20 agonizing minutes on hold, a man named Gerald Oakes got on the line. Same dismissive tone, even worse. He told me the pool passed its annual inspection in April. April, I countered that it was June, and clearly, something had changed. His response? The inspection was valid for 12 months. And then, the kicker, he suggested I contact my insurance about Zoe's medical bills. I hung up. Helpless. Furious. But something inside me snapped. I knew I couldn't let this go. That evening, I poured my heart out in our neighborhood Facebook group. Has anyone else had problems at the community pool? I asked. I hit post, my hands trembling. What happened next blew me away. Within an hour, there were 43 comments. Parents, one after another, sharing their own horror stories. Injuries stretching back 18 months, slips on algae-covered tiles, cuts from broken ladder rungs, even a near drowning because a pool vacuum created a suction hazard. Imani, a mother I knew, described her son needing 12 stitches after cutting his foot on a cracked tile. Russell, another parent, said his daughter got a staph infection so bad it took 3 rounds of antibiotics to clear. It wasn't just us. This was a pattern. A terrifying, undeniable pattern. I immediately created a shared online document. I asked everyone to log their incidents, dates, details, everything. By Wednesday evening, I had documented 37 separate injuries over the past year and a half. And every single person? They had all filed complaints with Parks and Recreation. And every single complaint had been met with the exact same excuses about budget limitations and inspection schedules. The city knew. They knew that pool was dangerous, and they had chosen to do nothing. Nothing. Thursday morning, I called the local health department. I spoke to an inspector named Chloe Brennan. While I waited, she pulled up the pool's file. Yep, she said. Annual inspection in April. No violations. I asked who conducted it. Apex Pool Services, she told me. A contractor. My alarm bells were ringing. I asked for the inspector's name. Neil Sutherland. Could I contact him? That information isn't public, she said, but I could file a formal complaint. So I did. That afternoon, I filed the most detailed complaint you could imagine. I attached the shared document, all 37 injury reports, photos of Zoe's stitches, her medical bills totaling $1,200. I meticulously laid out the timeline of ignored complaints. 2 days later, an automated response, reviewed within 30 business days. 30 business days? 6 weeks. 6 more weeks of kids potentially swimming in that death trap while bureaucrats shuffled papers. No way. That weekend, I swapped my swimsuit for a camera. I went to the pool not to swim, but to document. I photographed the loose drain cover, the cracked tiles, the broken ladder rung, the algae. I found rust, missing screws. I zoomed in on serial numbers, installation dates. That pool was built in 1987, and it looked like it hadn't seen an update since. A lifeguard, Isaac, whose name tag I noticed, came up to me. I explained Zoe's injury, and he just nodded, his face etched with sympathy. He told me they had reported maintenance issues multiple times, but nothing ever got fixed. 3 guards had already quit this summer, he said, because they didn't feel safe working there. He was looking for another job himself. When I asked about the April inspection, Isaac just laughed, a bitter, hollow sound. He said the inspector spent maybe 20 minutes walking around. Never even got in the water to properly check the drains. My suspicions were growing. Monday morning, I called Apex Pool Services. Neil Sutherland was out on inspections. I left a message. He never called back. I tried 3 more times that week. Same result. Something was very, very wrong. I looked up Apex online. They had contracts with 16 municipalities. Their website showed sparkling pools and glowing testimonials, but 0 actual credentials or certifications. This was it. This was the moment. I started researching pool inspection requirements. Colorado law said inspectors needed specific certifications from the National Swimming Pool Foundation. I called their verification line, gave them Neil Sutherland's name. A few minutes later, the representative came back, no active certification for anyone with that name. Then I asked about Apex Pool Services. The company isn't registered with us at all. My jaw dropped. They weren't just incompetent, they were fraudulent. The city was paying thousands of dollars for fake inspections. This changed everything. I documented everything. Every single detail. And then I sent it all, a scathing, detailed email to the health department, the Parks and Recreation director, and every single city council member. Photos of hazards, the log of 37 injuries, proof that Apex had no certifications, and Sutherland's refusal to call me back. And I CC'd the local newspaper reporter who covered city government, Dante Wu. Within 2 hours, Dante called me. He'd been investigating the city's deferred maintenance problems across multiple departments, and my story fit right in. Would you be willing to go on record? He asked. Absolutely, I said, without a moment's hesitation. I connected him with Imani and Russell, and he interviewed them too. The article hit the front page of the Sunday paper, Dangerous Pool Injures Dozens While City Ignores Warnings. It was damning. Photos of the pool, quotes from injured families, the whole story of Apex Pool Services and their fake certifications. It laid bare how 37 complaints over 18 months had been dismissed with bureaucratic excuses. The public response was immediate and intense. By Monday morning, 3 local TV stations had picked up the story. The city council received hundreds of angry calls and emails. Parents were demanding answers. Why were our tax dollars paying for fake inspections? The mayor's office issued a statement saying they were investigating and had closed the pool pending a comprehensive safety review. Gerald Oakes, the dismissive supervisor, left me a voicemail. He wanted to discuss my concerns and apologized for any miscommunication. I didn't call him back. I'd spent weeks trying to get the city to listen through proper channels. Now that the media was involved, suddenly they cared. Vaughn, the maintenance guy, emailed me asking for details about hazards so they could address them immediately. I forwarded his email directly to Dante Wu and hit delete. The health department scheduled an emergency inspection. Chloe Brennan called and asked if I wanted to be there to point out hazards. Absolutely, I said. Wednesday morning, I met Chloe and 2 other inspectors at the pool, along with Dante Wu, who was covering the story. They spent 4 hours examining every single detail. They documented dozens of violations, the loose drain, broken equipment, chemical imbalances, structural damage to the deck. Chloe told me they were issuing an immediate closure order. The pool wouldn't reopen until all violations were fixed. It would take at least 6 weeks, she estimated, and cost the city around $80,000. And Apex Pool Services? They were under investigation, their certification suspended. Thursday morning, the city council held an emergency meeting. The room was packed with furious parents. Council members looked uncomfortable as person after person stood up. Imani showed photos of her son's stitches. Russell read a statement from his daughter's doctor about her staph infection. Another parent described a near-drowning incident that had been dismissed as a child's panic, not a mechanical failure. When it was my turn, I brought enlarged photos of the hazards and the medical bills from multiple families, over $15,000 in total. I explained how we'd followed every single channel, only to be dismissed. I highlighted the money they'd paid Apex for worthless inspections. I looked them in the eye and asked, how many children need to be injured before the city takes maintenance seriously? Councilwoman Barbara Lightfoot was visibly shocked. She cut off Gerald Oakes, who was trying to mumble something about standard procedures. She declared 37 injury reports over 18 months is not routine maintenance. It is a public safety crisis. She moved to immediately audit all city pool facilities and review the contract with Apex. It passed unanimously. Another council member proposed creating a public database for residents to report hazards directly to the council, bypassing the department heads who had buried our complaints. That passed too. Reporters swarmed me after the meeting. Dante Wu mentioned a follow-up piece about other city facilities with similar problems. He was right. The very next day, I received a certified letter from the city attorney's office. My stomach clenched, fearing legal threats. Instead, it informed me of a formal investigation into Apex and Neil Sutherland. And they were reaching out to all families who'd filed injury reports about potential compensation. That same day, the state licensing board announced their investigation into Apex for fraudulent representation. If proven, they could face criminal charges and civil penalties. Neil Sutherland was also under individual investigation. Our Facebook group had swelled to over 800 members. Parents were sharing stories about broken playground equipment, loose handrails at community centers, a pattern of ignored complaints across multiple departments. I created a new shared document for these non-pool related hazards. Within 48 hours, over 200 entries rolled in. Dante's follow-up article ran the next Sunday, city's maintenance crisis extends far beyond pool. It was massive. This time, the mayor herself attended the emergency council meeting. She acknowledged the city's failure. She announced a safety task force and a review of contracting procedures. Barbara Lightfoot proposed a citizens' oversight committee to monitor maintenance, with direct access to city records. It passed unanimously. She asked me to serve. I said yes. 2 weeks later, the state licensing board revoked Apex Pool Services' business license. They'd been operating for 6 years without proper certifications, conducting over 400 fraudulent inspections. Neil Sutherland pleaded guilty to fraud and was sentenced to 18 months in prison. The judge specifically noted his fraud had endangered children. The community pool audit revealed repairs would cost $127,000, not $80,000. It was far worse than anyone knew. It wouldn't reopen until the following summer. 3 more city pools were immediately closed. The parks director resigned. Gerald Oakes was reassigned. Vaughn? He was fired for falsifying work orders. I attended my first Citizens Oversight Committee meeting in August. We had a direct online portal. Every report got a tracking number. Complaints couldn't disappear anymore. Within the first month, 340 hazards were reported and prioritized. We caught problems early now. The playground at Central Park got new equipment. The community center got structural repairs. Zoe's chin scar healed, but it was permanent. Every time I looked at it, I felt that mix of guilt and fierce pride. She started asking about the committee meetings. I told her, sometimes grown-ups make mistakes, and it takes other people speaking up to make things right. The civil lawsuit took longer, but 17 families, including ours, joined forces. 8 months later, it settled for $340,000. Our portion covered Zoe's medical bills and compensated for her permanent scar. More importantly, it mandated specific maintenance protocols and made the Citizens Oversight Committee a permanent fixture. Finally, 15 months after Zoe's injury, the community pool reopened. It was completely transformed. New tiles, new equipment, modern safety covers on every drain. Barbara Lightfoot spoke at the ceremony, crediting parent advocacy for driving real change. I brought Zoe to the reopening, but she was nervous. She touched her scar. Will it happen again? She asked. I held her close. No, sweetie. The pool is safe now. We made sure it won't happen to other kids. She thought for a minute, then asked, did we fix all the broken stuff everywhere? I smiled. We're still working on it, but we're making progress. 3 years later, the Oversight Committee still meets monthly. Facility maintenance requests are handled in an average of 12 days. The online portal has resolved over 2,000 hazards. Not a single child has been injured at a city pool since our reforms. Those statistics, that matters more than any money or awards. Zoe is 9 now, on the community pool swim team. She does flip turns off the wall where she once split her chin. Sometimes, I watch her practice and think about how easy it would have been to accept those excuses. How many other families would have been hurt? The scar on her chin is a constant, powerful reminder, speaking up matters. Systems change when enough people refuse to accept broken things as normal.